award-winning RPG game developer BioWare comes an extraordinary handheld adventure. A dangerous new threat has emerged. Sonic must team up with 10 friends, each with unique powers, all with one goal: to defeat the Dark Brotherhood. A whole new role for Sonic, with all new rules. Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. Rated E for everyone. Coming soon on Nintendo DS.
I'm glad someone pointed that out to me. I was just told that couldn't be heard. It looked like my cell phone had screwed, that my microphone had screwed up. Thanks for pointing that out to me, Lois. I hope you can hear me now. Anyway, let me start over. Okay, so let's start over. So, welcome to the Game Reserve. My name is Jagger Newman, and I'm the War in these parts. And tonight we are playing Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. This game was released in 2008 and was Sega's attempt to move Sonic into the RPG space. They probably decided that they wanted to do that because Mario was having a lot of success in that genre with the Mario and Luigi series, and they figured they ought to give it a try with Sonic. However, their attempt to make Sonic a RPG epic hero ended up not working out too well, outside of the fact that Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood would end up receiving a pretty muted reaction when it came out. Outside of the video game industry, there was also a lot of trouble. This was one of the games that was targeted by former Archie writer Ken Penders for copyright infringement on his work that he did on the Knuckles comics. And that essentially led Sega to essentially abandon the game after its release. They essentially settled with Penders out of court, which meant that, this is one of those Sonic games that is likely never going to see any kind of re-release, because if they do, Penders will have legal grounds to go ahead and sue Sega for, royalties or whatever was settled out of court, because, Sega essentially admitted that he was right in the case. So, Sonic Chronicles has kind of become something of a controversial entry in the video game industry, which is a shame because, all things considered, this is not a terrible game by any stretch of the imagination. Honestly, I think Sonic Chronicles is pretty good in regards to how it tries to incorporate the series into 3D, into RPG, but, all it takes to ruin things is one asshole who thinks he owns more rights than he does, and a company that didn't have the sense to fight him in court. So, it's just one of the great tragedies of the video game industry. But I feel like I've talked enough, so let's go ahead and start things off here. As to how I'm going to be playing this game, I really don't have any choice but to play the game via an emulation. So, because, again, Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood is never going to get any kind of digital re-release because Sega probably fears any kind of legal action from Ken Penders. So let's go ahead and get the emulator started. Okay, good. We're still connected on that end. I'm still embarrassed that my microphone had disconnected itself. Thanks again for pointing that out to me, Lois. Okay, so my first impressions aren't terribly strong here. The presentation doesn't look terribly strong, and while the music is definitely fitting of a Sonic game, it is rock and roll. It just kind of sounds to me like someone's just strumming their hand across a rock guitar to make the music, which, like, there's just no depth to it. Oh boy. Okay, so I'm not terribly fond of this title screen. Like, the design of the logo is just a little bland to me. Like, I hate that color choice. Like, the blue and yellow, that just blends a little too much with the background. And the Dark Brotherhood, that's probably one of the things that shot Sega in the foot when they were considering whether or not to bring the suit to court with Ken Penders, because the Dark Brotherhood does sound a lot like the Dark Legion, which was part of the problem as far as the copyright issue was going. Okay. One thing remains certainty. At the height of their glory, even they could not have foreseen their fate at the speed at which it was delivered. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, what is up with that animation? That almost looks like a cheap Flash animation that you would see on Newgrounds back in the day. Oh my goodness. Honestly, don't know what to think about this. This looks poor. It's almost like animation you would see for a Flash game. Oh my god, that looks awful. And straight into a title card. I mean, like, I wonder if there was more to that animation. I'm not really sure. Yeah, what is going on indeed? Okay, so the Chaos Emeralds being stolen is pretty par for the course, but they actually kidnapped Knuckles? And yeah, Sonic will help. That's no question. Why don't you just come help me, Tails? What else does it say? Man, if you've been keeping up with the IDW comments, you know Sonic wouldn't say that. He'd probably be excited to see Amy, I'd imagine. Okay, so right off the bat, it's teaching you how to play the game, so... Oh crap, did my... No. The emulator crapped out on me. This can't be good. Crap. Now I'm gonna have to reset this stupid thing. This is... God, this sucks. I hate having to use emulation, because you never know when this is gonna happen. Hopefully this isn't par for the course here. There we go. Hopefully I can click through all this crap again. Which thankfully I can.
Sega.
Alright, so nice and easy here. Ah, jeez. Alright, folks, it looks like we're gonna have to go to plan B here, so I think the only thing I can do at this point is just, you know, talk over a playthrough of the game. So let's go ahead, see if I can pull up a walkthrough of this. This is turning out to be a pretty bad stream, isn't it? I'd imagine. I mean, what else can I do at this point? Let's take a look at where it starts. Right about here. I still can't believe that this is happening. Like, this is one of the risks you run into with emulating games. Like, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And when that happens, like, crap like this happens. So, now I don't even get to play the game. Like, the best I can do is just show footage of the game via YouTube channel. Be sure you check this guy out if you guys are curious to see more of the game, but now I essentially have to spend the next hour watching someone else play it instead of talking about it myself. But then again, that was sort of the original intention. I originally wanted to cover this game with the MLG Panda and everything because she's a big fan of RPGs and what have you. But, yeah. It seems like there's always something working against Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. It's really a shame. Alright, so one of the things that I do take issue with in regards to Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood is the fact that, most of the game is played with the touchscreen as opposed to buttons and traditional controls. I'm not exactly sure why BioWare, of all people, felt the need to do that, because it really just makes the game feel clunky and uncomfortable to play. But, it could be worse. I mean, it's not as bad as some of the Zelda games, but at the same time, like, you really wish they hadn't done something like that. And I will say this, the art style for the game isn't that bad. I mean, like, Sonic looks just fine, and, the design of the humans is nice and stylistic, but at the same time, it still looks really cheap. Like, look at the outline along Sonic there. I mean, it almost looks like he, was photoshopped in there. It just looks really crappy. And this was made by BioWare, the same people who would do the Mass Effect games. You'd think that they would, do a lot better with the presentation here. You got Sonic chopping wood, which is funny to think, isn't it? Sonic always takes the time to help people out, Tails. What are you talking about? And over the course of the first hour of the game or so, the game is constantly stopping to tell you how to play the game, which, for a Sonic game is just fine. After all, the people who would play this game were probably like me when it came out, people who weren't really accustomed to RPGs. So it probably was smart for this to function as sort of a beginner's RPG. Even though, as far as that kind of game goes, you would be better off with the first Pokemon game. Like, if someone had never played an RPG before, this would not be my first choice to recommend to them. And even the Sonic RPG takes place in Green Hill zones initially. It's like... If you're like me, you're just getting sick of seeing Green Hill Zone. Ever since Sonic Generations came out, it seems like there has been a Green Hill Zone level in just about every game. It's ridiculous. And oh no, Sonic is being attacked by an armadillo. Weirdly enough, an armadillo that is not anthropomorphic. That raises a lot of questions, doesn't it? God, I wish I was playing this right now. One of the things about the Game Preserve is that I try to encourage people to play the games that I showcase rather than just watching me play it. So as you guys can probably tell, I don't really like watching other people play games that I myself can play. And so we're getting into our first battle in this game, and just like most RPGs, it is turn-based, so you just pick your attacks and hope that you take down the enemy before they take you down. It's not a terrible system, all things considered, but at the same time, I feel like they could have done something a little more creative for the Sonic series. One of the things I really like about the Mario and Luigi series is that it actually feels more like a Mario RPG rather than a RPG with the Mario paint job. Like, they actually get the motion and feel of a Mario game into the RPG format, which I wouldn't say that Sonic Chronicles does. It really just feels like a RPG with a Sonic paint job. And even then, kind of a thin paint job too, because like with the production values here, it honestly feels like a very cheap RPG, almost like a Flash game that you would play on like a movie site or something. And now we got Amy here, and her big subplot for this game is that she's trying to get Sonic to like her by pretending that she has a boyfriend, which at some point you can get her to admit that she was lying about it the whole time, which isn't a good look for Amy, I would say. Like, this is before they actually gave Amy a likable character, you know, before the IDW comics or Sonic Boom. So, you know, I don't think this tactic is going to work, Amy, so I would drop it while you still can. I wish I was playing too, Lois. Like, that's honestly kind of torture for me. But this is why game preservation is so important, because, you know, like, not every game is lucky enough to get some kind of re-release. No, a lot of games just fall into limbo because of, you know, issues regarding copyrights or whatever. And when that happens, it's very hard to play them in an official capacity. Even worse if you're talking about a game that has gotten stupidly high in regards to price. And unfortunately, Sonic Chronicles is one of those games. While it hasn't risen to the point where you'd have to pay an arm and a leg to play it, it has gotten to the point where, you know, you just know that you're never going to be able to play this in the official capacity. And it's all due to the efforts of one man, and that's Ken Penders, whose ownership over the content in this game is questionable at best. I really wish that Sega had, you know, actually fought him in court, because I guarantee they would have won if they had. But, you know, if there's any doubt that they will lose a court case, most lawyers are going to tell you to settle out of court rather than, you know, take it to trial. Yeah, so right here it's telling you about switching characters. Some characters have different abilities when you're out in the overworld, ranging from being able to go through loop-de-loops, break objects, or move through poisonous gas. It does make moving through the overworld a little more interesting, but not to the point where, you know, it's fun being out in the overworld. Like, it's just kind of bland exploring the levels in general. And there's something else that you can do in the game, too. Throughout the course of the game, you'll find eggs, which will hatch chow for you. And they essentially work like upgradable items in most RPGs. So you can equip them to characters and you'll get staff buffs. But, you know, it doesn't go much deeper than that. It's a pretty basic RPG, all things considered. Like, it's not a bad RPG, I wouldn't say that, but not really a good one either. And I find RPGs really dull to play anyway, so it also does now. God, I wish I could just play right now. Screw you, Ken Penders. Then again, I wonder if Sega would have even re-released this game by now, even if Ken Penders wasn't a major obstacle there. Talking about enemies running away or you running away yourself. We'll see what this does. So when the enemies run away, you just taps on it to make them jump over obstacles and stuff like that. So trying to get that speed element into it, I would say, but not really doing a terribly good job, I would say. Once again, it kind of feels like game that you would have played on like a movie site or something back in the day. I will say this though, I do like all the animations for the characters with the different attacks and everything. Man, those character models look awful, don't they? I don't think, so one of my viewers, Lois, is asking, do I think the potential for an RPG setting had anything to do with the console? Not necessarily. There were plenty of great RPGs on the Nintendo DS, Lois. But, I think the issue here is that, you know, there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen because you had BioWare, who was a really prominent RPG developer. They had done stuff like Baldur's Gate, I believe, and the Mass Effect series, which was one of the biggest RPG trilogies of the generation that Sonic Chronicles belonged to. But they probably had a lot of notes from Sega as to how they wanted the game to be. So that probably had an impact on the overall quality of the game. But at the same time, Sonic Chronicles isn't a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, like, as an RPG, it is functional, but there are better RPGs that you can play, especially on the DS, so Sonic Chronicles just ends up just being this weird little game in the Sonic series more than anything. And like in most RPGs, as you defeat enemies, you will level up the character's stats, so it is important to stay on that grind. In regards to grinding, which is always my big sticking point with RPGs, I wouldn't say that Sonic Chronicles is necessarily bad in that regard. There are still a few moments in the game where, you know, you do have to grind in order to get over certain humps, but it's not as horrible as a lot of NES or SNES RPGs, I would say. You can mostly just play a game from start to finish without having to spend a lot of time grinding, but it is still a frustration regardless. It's got a lot of the same sound effects that you would expect from the Sonic series as well, like the Ream power-ups and you know, the jump sound. But a lot of the sound effects they use for the main game don't really work too well. Because so much control is taken away from the players during an RPG, I feel like sound effects are a big factor when you're designing a game, because when you hit an enemy, you want it to feel satisfying. But that's just not the case in Sonic Chronicles. It just kind of feels like you're plunking someone on the head with like a rubber sword or something. The game just showed you POW moves, but I don't think whoever is playing this game is going to use them, because this isn't a situation where you want to use any special attacks. Oh, maybe he will. Yeah, so for the special attacks in this game, you do have certain quick time events that you have to use with the touchscreen in order to activate the special attacks. They probably took that from the Mario and Luigi series, but whereas in Mario and Luigi it sort of made sense because a lot of the battle system boiled down to rhythmatically pressing buttons. Here, not so much, and it's honestly a little unreliable because the touchscreen isn't always good at picking out your inputs and everything, so that can definitely be a big problem as well. Not even sure what this guy's doing right now, aside from just exploring the area. God, it is boring to watch someone else play an RPG. I don't know how people can stand to just consume video games for watching other people play them on the internet. It's just... It's more fun to play them yourself, for crying out loud. I'm starting to run out of things to say already. I wonder if I would have more to say if I was actually playing the game. So at the start of the game, you really only have Sonic and Amy to play as, but over the course of the game, you'll find other characters to play as. You'll find Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Rouge, Bit the Cat, even Amy, even Eggman at one point. And each character has their own special abilities that will allow you to explore more of the map and everything, as well as their own different abilities in combat. And right there was saying that you need at least 4 characters in order to complete a puzzle in order to move forward into Green Hill Zone. So there is a nice sense of progression there. It's kind of like in the Mario RPGs, how over the course of the game you'll get more characters that you can add to your party. Like Bowser, Mallow, Luigi, stuff like that. And as you play through the game, you'll also unlock new attacks and everything. So there is a nice sense of progression here, but if you're making an RPG, you need to have a good progression system, otherwise it's going to feel really boring really quick. Ooh, boxing gloves, my favorite. I'd probably give those to Amy. She actually does do a little bit of boxing as a form of exercise and everything. Let's see what he does. There you go, nice move, guy. I did the same thing when I played this game. Boxing is a really good way to exercise BDW. It's a good form of cardio. It's just a lot of fun to hit a heavy bag. Alright, where's he going now? I also really hate the 2D graphics that they use for the overworld. Like, it's just so flat. Like, I complained about with the Resident Evil games how, you know, the 3D character models don't really mesh well with the pre-rendered backgrounds, but like, it's even worse in this game. Like, there's just no sense of depth to the background, which is pretty lame. Why does the sight of that chest opening up remind me of the loot boxes from Battlefront 2? I guess he's saving. Probably a good idea. He is about to fight the first major boss in the game. What an idiot. He thinks he can say that to Sonic. I would ask where Knuckles is, honestly. Who the hell is Shade, dude? I guess this would be a good time to talk about the controversy regarding Sonic Chronicles. So, when the game came out, it was met with a lawsuit by one Ken Penders, who was a writer on the Archie comics. Now, the Archie comics, Sonic the Hedgehog, was one of the longest running comic books ever to be based on a video game franchise. And Ken Penders was a big hand in why they were so successful. Before he came on, they were essentially just joke comic books that, were sort of an amalgamation of the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Sat AM. He changed that. He sort of turned the Sonic comics into a sort of superhero comic book series, which led to darker, more complex storylines, greater character depth, and all that good stuff that you want to have in a comic book series. Over time, he was given the green light to do essentially his own series with the Knuckles comics, and to his credit, he actually did craft a lot of compelling lore around Knuckles and his people, as far as how they existed in the modern day of the Sonic series. However, after 50 or so issues, Archie decided to end the Knuckles series, and when that happened, Ken Penders went back to the Sonic series. Unfortunately, he found that he wasn't able to return to the same role that he had before the Knuckles comics started, and he wasn't really happy about that. Before long, he decided it would be best for him to leave Archie altogether, but when he did that, he also made it a point to file suit against Archie, alleging that he owned all the characters and storylines that he had created for Archie during his time there. If you know anything about the comic book industry, that is not how that typically works. If you're working for a big comic book publisher like Archie, Marvel, or DC, you generally don't get ownership of what you create. You're typically a hired hand, so you're paid for what you do, and that's about it. But Archie made some really bad moves, contractually speaking, when they were dealing with Ken Penders, while they never actually stated that they themselves owned everything that he did on the comics. There was nothing saying that he didn't have it either. And on top of that, they didn't even have the original contract that Penders had signed, which meant that he could basically say that he owned everything because he did write it up. So because of that, the Archie comics ended up having to write around a lot of the stuff that Ken Penders wrote for the Archie comics in an effort to avoid paying him royalties or whatever he wanted. And before long, it just got to the point where the Archie comics decided to just reboot the series so that they wouldn't have to deal with this bullcrap anymore. When Sonic Chronicles came out, there were a lot of similarities between the content of the game and a lot of the stuff that Ken Penders did for the Knuckles comics, which resulted in Penders filing suit against Sega. And even though I feel like the titular Dark Brotherhood, as well as characters like Shade and what have you, were legally distinct enough to avoid having to pay royalties to Ken Penders, it still was questionable enough to where Sega decided to settle out of court rather than take things to trial. Because of that, they sort of gave Ken Penders a precedence to where, he got in his head that he was right, which I feel sort of discouraged Sega from exploring some of the more interesting narrative potential in the Sonic series. It's a real shame, but thankfully Ken Penders is starting to lose a lot of the power that he had over the Sonic series. When Sonic 2 came out, he actually threatened to file suit against the filmmakers because they dared portray Knuckles having a father in the movie. But unfortunately, thankfully I should say, the filmmakers opted to call his bluff, and for proper reason too, because they weren't infringing on anything if they were infringing on Ken Penders' supposed copyrights. The thing about Knuckles' father, as depicted in the Archie comics, is that Locke was a very defined character. He had a lot of complexities to him, character flaws, motivations, and everything. Just a character who was listed as Knuckles' father in the series is not enough to bring a copyright suit because it's just no character there to really compare it to. Locke is his own character, and Knuckles' father, as depicted in the films, is also his own character, so he has no case. Which is why in the Knuckles series, they actually took a shot at Kim Penders, and like Sonic 3 has come out, and Sonic 4 is on the horizon, so thankfully Kim Penders is starting to lose his hold over the Sonic series. So I think all we need right now is just a good lawyer to sort it all out to make sure that he has no say in the kind of stories that are told in the Sonic series moving forward. Oh god, that was a mouthful. So now we're adding Tails to the party too. Like, there is a lot of potential for a Sonic RPG, I would say. But, and I would say that Sonic Chronicles and the Dark Brotherhood does do a good enough job utilizing the world and everything, as well as the characters' unique abilities, but I just wish that the production value was a little bit better. I wish there was better polish to it, and that they had done something to make it stand out from other RPGs in the market as well. Now, I've covered a couple of RPGs on the showcase so far, like Chrono Trigger and what have you, and Pokemon as well. I have a feeling that it's really boring for other people to watch me do stuff like this, because most of the gameplay in RPGs boils down to just watching other people screw around in menus, so... I really wish that Steffi was able to join me for this, because she probably would have had some better insight than I would have been able to provide. Fortunately, she's busy with something tonight, so I can't really fault her for that. I do like that they incorporated a swap bot into the game, too. That was basically Eggman's primary robot in the Sonic Sat AM series, which may have also led to Ken Penders filing suit against this, but they probably got permission from, whoever made Sonic Sat AM to use the term swap bot before they used it in the game. They probably didn't think they had to go to Ken Penders for everything, because why the hell would you have to go to Ken Penders for anything? If there are any robots in the Sonic world, would you assume that they're anybody's other than Eggman's? It's like the line in Sonic Boom where they're fighting the evil robot firemen. They say it's one of Eggman's robots. Eggman happens to be sitting nearby. Why do you assume that every evil robot is mine? That's one of my favorite gags in Sonic Boom as well, because it's just so funny. Like, an evil fireman who, instead of putting out fires with water, actually starts them with flamethrowers. Like, it's just beautiful. And now we're running into Rouge. I mean, again, they are using the characters well here. And I especially like how Rouge is floating with Sonic here, and that's pissing off Amy. Sort of showing that Amy is lying about her boyfriend. There is some strong writing in this game, I will give it that, but again, that is probably why Penders decided to file suit against Sega here. He probably feels like they were ripping off how he characterized a lot of the characters in the Archie comics, which again is really silly because he didn't create most of the characters in there. Like, most of what he can claim ownership over relates to the Knuckles series. Just... Sega, you really should have called his freaking bluff. You could have beat him in court, I guarantee. This is probably one of the only other games in the series to address the gun commander who appeared in Shadow the Hedgehog. And I do wish that he appeared in more Sonic games other than Shadow the Hedgehog, because I do feel like he would have an interesting place in the Sonic the Hedgehog mythos. But, you know, a lot of people dislike Shadow the Hedgehog, and they dislike this game too, so maybe it is for the best that he didn't show up too often. And now we're going after Knuckles, and Big shows up here as well. It really always surprised me that Big shows up as much as he does, because, you know, Big isn't a popular character. A lot of people think he's a joke in the Sonic series, but this is one of the few games where he actually does do something interesting, so it is what it is. What's that music going on, too? What is up with that? Like, the sound and presentation in this game is just a constant issue. Vector? I forgot that the Chaotix were even in this game. You know, if they wanted to do another Sonic RPG, they ought to work with the IDW comics to see if they can get it done, because while Kim Penders and his contributions to the characterization of the Sonic series are noteworthy, what they've done on the IDW comics is just simply better. Like, I keep saying that those people should be writing the stories for the Sonic games instead of Sega trying to do it themselves, because I have yet to see anyone utilize the characters as well as they do. Yeah, it was also really funny to see Sonic working directly with Gun. Usually he's opposed to that. Sonic tends to operate solo. But I guess given the situation with one of his buddies in danger, it kind of makes sense that he'd do that. And we still got tutorials going on here too. Like, you think an hour into the game you would have figured out how to play everything, and now it's still... even back then they were saying that you need to visit some kind of website in order to more effectively play the game. Like, what the hell? There's a joke I can make about how that gun agent looks, but I really don't want to do that because I don't want to talk about politics on my YouTube channel. Make of that what you will. I think I've run out of stuff to say, really. There's a shop, but that's commonplace for RPGs. It's kind of funny that they're doing that too, because Sonic usually isn't a guy that buys stuff. Usually when he, needs food or something, people just give it to him because he's a world hero or something along those lines. I'm getting bored of watching this. Oh, man. It's no wonder my channel is growing so slowly, like... Yeah, for someone who's screaming for help, you don't seem like you need a whole lot based on your facial expression, buddy. I'm surprised they don't call the Wasp Buzz Bombers. That's what they were called in Sonic SAT-AM. And all these guys look the same, don't they? Isn't that weird? I guess now we got our first puzzle in the game, too. Honestly, don't know what I'm looking at here, or what to say. Ten more minutes, and then I can cut off the stream here. This whole showcase has been a disaster, let's be real. Honestly, I think the game would have been better if they had nixed the 3D elements in favor of just doing 2D assets. The thing with a lot of DS games was that because the DS was capable of 3D graphics, a lot of developers thought that they had to use 3D graphics to be impressive. But games like the Castlevania series and all that showed that it was okay to just do 2D games on the DS, just use 32-bit processing in order to make some really high-end 2D graphics, but no, a lot of them decided to use a combination of 3D and 2D graphics, and a lot of the time it just didn't work out too well, as is the case with Sonic Chronicles, I would say. See how Rouge attacks. And she kicks just like she should. Why do I suddenly want to watch One Piece? Like, when you knock down an enemy in this game, it just kind of feels like you've brained someone in a cartoon. I think it would have been better if they explode in a crunchy sounds rather than that one. After all, Sonic does mostly fire. Microphone, I would say. Trapped by SWAT bots. Isn't that a classic scenario for Sonic? The fastball special! I wonder if this is the first time they ever did something like that. Man, these SWAT bots sure can't take a beating, can't they? Usually it only takes one bop on the head from Sonic to take him out. At least in Mario and Luigi, they were in a completely different setting, so it makes sense that it would take more to take the enemies out. There we go. Alright, we're at 9 o'clock, so it's time to cut off the stream. So before I give some thoughts on Sonic Chronicles, I need to highlight the person who that footage belongs to. It belongs to FC Playthrough. So if you'd like to see more of Sonic Chronicles, be sure to check out that channel. I'm sorry that I had to resort to just playing a clip from your channel, dude. But I only showcase the first hour or so of the game, so I hope you'll forgive me for that. But anyway, Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. I want to stress, this is not a bad game by any stretch of the imaginations. It's a perfectly fine RPG, but that's all it is. It's just fine. Like, gameplay-wise, everything works the way it's supposed to. Like, some of the battle mechanics are a little finicky, but nothing that makes the game unplayable. It's not terribly hard either. Like, it's a decent enough beginner's RPG, but, you know, if I were to recommend an RPG for someone who hasn't played an RPG, I would definitely recommend Pokemon over this any day. And it does make good use of all the different characters and settings in the Sonic mythos, but there's plenty about it that also just leaves a lot to be desired. You know, the story, it is indicative of a lot of the Archie stuff, which is probably why Pinder's decided to target it with his lawsuits. The presentation also leaves a lot to be desired. Like, everything about this game just screams cheap, which is hilarious considering it was made by BioWare of all people. And the music isn't terribly good either. It also doesn't help that the story in Sonic Chronicles is unfortunately incomplete. After Sonic Chronicles came out, Sega intended to make it a long-running series with multiple entries. But right after the game came out, BioWare was bought up by EA Games, so they weren't able to continue the series. And with Sega having to pay out a settlement to appease Ken Penders, they probably thought that it was more trouble than it's worth, so Sonic Chronicles would end up being a one-off game. I don't think that's really a big loss that the game's story wasn't continued, but I would like to see another attempt at Sonic with an RPG, preferably with writing assistance from the IDW comics, who I'm sure would play much nicer than Ken Penders did. But all things considered, Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood is just okay. I wish there was a better way to play it other than emulation, as we found the ROM I had didn't really work too well. So, no. Best way to play is to just get yourself a 3DS and play it that way. But that's going to do it for tonight, guys. If you enjoyed tonight's content, please be sure to like and subscribe. I do these videos every Saturday at 8 o'clock, and typically what I do is I play a video game. I play the video game for about an hour, and I talk about the design, the aspects, and all that stuff. Because I'm passionate about that stuff, and I enjoy talking about it. What I do not do is play games from start to finish. I feel like you lose something if you're not playing the game yourself. So I just like to give people a little taste of it in hopes that they will actually go out and try the games themselves. But no disrespect to anyone who chooses to consume video games in that manner. And if you would like to see a full playthrough of Sonic Chronicles and Dark Brotherhood, this is what you need to watch right here. I feel like I need to highlight that since I use so much of his footage. That being said, if there's any game that you would like me to cover in this format, please leave it in the comments. And if it's something I feel is worth looking at, I'll be sure to check it out. But that's going to do it for tonight, guys. I hope you'll have a good work week, and I'll see you next time. Oh, God, that sucked.